my professional, piping experience, homegirls never walking again. I know they call it a chocolate starfish, but it doesn't taste like chocolate.
How do you know?
Hoshi, 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 Hoshi. YouTube, I'm Stellatrix, coming to you live from the station near you. Today we will be perceiving my 36-inch King Rex locks from the Lockpicking Lawyer. So strap in, strap on, and let's go perceive!
This is the Lockpicking Lawyer.
This is the story of a girl.
Several years ago, I produced a series of videos showing how to twist popular padlocks off their hasps using my 24-inch pipe wrench. And to be sure, it was a very effective attack, though it did have its limits. One of which was due to the fact that I was using a relatively low-quality pipe wrench from Harbor Freight.
You don't want to use a low-quality pipe wrench for your piping needs.
It seems pretty clear that I need a better tool.
Yes.
I asked my friends if they had any candidates. My friend Tony offered the use of his 8-inch wang. Now, normally, an 8-inch wang would be more than enough for any standard job. Something like laying pipe. But it just doesn't give enough power for what I want to show you. And as you can see, being only 8 inches long, it doesn't seem to have seen much use. Then my friend Trevor offered the use of this one. It is 10 inches long and rigid. Like Tony's wang, a 10-inch rigid is more than enough for most sturdy jobs, and it'll likely do well. But again,
I would say in my professional piping experience, anything more than 7 inches, you start running into sizing issues. It starts becoming a little unwieldy.
It seemed a little short for me.
But we all have our different preferences. Whatever you like is acceptable.
Editor can make her text gauge for the rest of the video. And keep this in the video.
You are Editor Coon! What is your goal here? Editor Coon's talking to himself. You stop talking to my editor. You stop talking to my editor. He's my editor. I don't like it when you talk to my editor, chat.
Moving up in size, it seemed a little short for me. Moving up in size, I was offered this 14-inch Johnson by my friend Rob. Now, it might be long enough, but you'll notice this bend at the head of the tool. It's my understanding that quite a few Johnsons have a bend in them just like this one. And I'm told it can be awkward or even uncomfortable. Because of that, I tend to avoid.
That heavily depends on the skew of the pipe you are using the wrench, the Johnson for. It's more a matter of finding the right Johnson for the job. It's more a matter of finding the right pipe for the Johnson. You understand?
Avoid bent Johnsons.
There's nothing wrong with a bent Johnson.
My friend Nick offered the use of his 4-inch long King Dick. Now, I think we all know that 4 inches isn't.
Why is it shaped like a? Why is the King shit? You know what? Never mind.
Long King Dick. Now, I think we all know that 4 inches isn't really enough to get the job done.
That's not necessarily
I tried to tactfully tell Nick, and he was quick to point out that if you play with it, it does get a bit longer, but only about 1/4 to 1/2 inch, not enough for our purposes. To his credit though, Nick's offering did remind me that I too have a King Dick, and it might be perfect for the job. My King Dick, however, is a full 36 inches long. Now, I've used my King Dick to lay pipe in the past. You can clearly see that it's well used and it can be extremely effective. But I've never shown my King Dick on video or publicly, so I feel obligated to issue a few words of caution. When using a tool this big, you have to be really careful. The power of a 36-inch tool should never be underestimated because if you carelessly swing around a 36-inch king dick,
yes, they could really throw a wrench in things.
Maybe even wreck a home with it. So, being careful not to do too much harm, let's go see the damage that my 36-inch king dick is capable of inflicting.
Yes, please. Learning purposes. That is a really powerful king dick. Oh. So it really, something I'm noticing here, while he does have a very large tool, he's also implementing technique, and I think he's failing to recognize the importance of technique. I'm very certain he could get the job done with a significantly smaller tool. Oh.
Well, I think it's pretty clear that my 36-inch long king dick is a supremely powerful tool. But as I was testing it out, Mrs. Lockpicking Lawyer walked in and watched me work. Afterwards, it was suggested that my king dick wasn't a particularly versatile tool. She then challenged me to get into her beaver using nothing but my king dick. Since I never back down from a challenge, let's go give that a try.
I'm not sure what I was expecting, but it wasn't that. Homegirl's never walking again.
Okay, folks, as you saw, getting into Mrs. Lockpicking Lawyers with my king dick wasn't particularly hard. And I'll admit to being a little surprised to finding some semen inside. Huh. I don't think this semen's mine. In any case, that's all I have for you today. Well, I thought that's all I had for you, but my friend Nick saw this video early and was a bit upset that I dismissed the utility of his 4-inch king dick. So, to redeem his tool, he offered to show how well it can get into his wife's furry kitty. Let's give that a try.
Yeah, see? Perfectly valid.
I'm not sure it's anything to write home about, but I suppose a 4-inch king dick can be effective, at least in limited circumstances. But to be honest, I'm not sure 4 inches is enough to get the job done. In any case, that's all I have for you today. If you do have any questions or comments about this, please put them below. If you like this video and would like to see more like it, please subscribe.
Yeah.
And as always, have a great April 1st.
I stand by my assessment. You just gotta use the right tool for the job. You got something to say to chat? Oh, we got a kitty number 2 up here now. This one is called Getting in My Ex-Girlfriend's Back Door. This is so gonna be demonetized on YouTube.
This is the Lockpicking Lawyer, and on this channel I've demonstrated how to penetrate some of the most secure equipment out there, usually using some very simple tools. But it's almost always done right here on my desk. It's a controlled environment that might not be equivalent to field conditions. So today I'm taking you on the road with me. You see, I just got a call from my ex-girlfriend who's having a problem. Her new boyfriend is apparently having trouble getting in her back door. It's really tight, and she told him to stop trying because all he was doing was pushing really hard, and she was afraid something would break. She remembered that when we were dating, I used to go in through her back door all the time. This is a picture of her back door. She just sent it to me, and I don't see any reason why this should be a problem. Frankly, it looks looser than it was back when we were dating. So, while her boyfriend's at work, she asked me to come over and see if I could help loosen things up. I, of course, agreed, so long as I could get it on video.
I mean, it just sounds to me like, yeah, it might be a sizing issue. If you can fit in,
that's
her current man can't.
And share it on this channel. So let's drive over and see if we can get in her back door without breaking anything. Okay folks, here we are, and I have to say that my ex-girlfriend's back door is far dirtier than it ever used to be back when we were dating. It seems to have been neglected pretty badly, but I'm actually glad to find it this way. So you can see why I always keep baby wipes handy whenever I do anything like this. So let's get one out and wipe all of this brown residue away.
What a kind, caring man, cleaning his ex-girlfriend's back door for her.
Okay, this is pretty dirty. It might be a 2-wipe job.
Get you a man who will wipe your back door for you.
Okay, now that we have the outside just a little bit cleaner, it's time to flush out the inside as well. And because we need to lubricate this anyway, I'm going to flush out the main opening with a good bit of lube. We just need to be sure to keep a towel underneath that opening so we don't make a mess.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to make a mess of this.
Here it makes a lot of sense
you want to be very professional
generous with that lubricant. Back doors tend to be neglected, so you can't have too much.
It's very true. It's very important to properly clean your back door.
Ready.
You should be using a gentle soap and warm water, relatively, preferably daily. Yes, even if you're a man, especially if you're a man. In fact, please clean your back door. I know they call it a chocolate starfish, but it doesn't taste like chocolate.
How do you know?
But before I go any further, I need to put on some rubber for my own protection.
Protection is good. Rubber protection generally is the only sort of protection that will prevent against unwanted intruders. There are other methods for preventing younger intruders, but rubber is the only method that can prevent more harmful, dangerous intruders.
Now, depending on various factors, I should note that the opening could be in an awkward position. And all I have to say about that is deal with it. It's not uncommon, especially when you're going in through the back door. Now, I can't just shove in my tool. I need to be very gentle and wiggle things into position if I'm going to stand any chance of getting in. I think we're there. All it needs now is a firm shove, and we are in. Now you need to understand that just because I got in her back door doesn't mean that her boyfriend will be able to as well. So I need to spend some time working it in and loosening it up. But I'm gonna do that.
I'm confused because earlier he said that it looked looser than previously. Do you think the girlfriend has had other people working on her back door? She probably called someone unprofessional. Maybe, yeah. Maybe somebody that didn't use the appropriate protective rubber.
Camera, so that's all I have for you, and loosening it up. But I'm gonna do that off camera, so that's all I have for you today. If you do have any questions or comments about this, please put them below. If you like this video and would like to see more like it, please subscribe, and have a great April 1st.
What a kind man. Let's see what other solid advice he's got for us. This one is getting into a woman's kitty. As a woman, I am very curious to see what sort of advice he concocts. I'm always willing to learn from the experiences of other people. I think it's really important to keep an open mind.
This is the Lockpicking Lawyer, and just because you can get into something doesn't necessarily mean that you should.
True,
At least
yes.
that's the specific advice that comes to mind today. You see, what I have for you today is something that many women consider to be the epicenter of their most intimate moments and thoughts. These go by several names, which range from clinical to downright inappropriate, but looking at these, I think we'll use the term kitty for obvious reasons. I have 3 kitties to show you. This one belongs to Mrs. Lockpicking Lawyer, and you'll notice it's a nice rosy pink and quite furry. You can't tell this on video, but it also has a nice fresh watermelon scent to it. This one belongs to a neighbor of mine.
I feel the need to pause. I really hope she's not using any sort of watermelon scented cleanser or anything to wash her kitty, because it's generally bad for the health of your kitty to use any sort of soap with a scent near it. And you definitely don't want to wash the inside of your kitty with a soap. That's very bad for your kitty.
A very friendly girl who works as a dancer. You'll notice her kitty is even more furry than my wife's, but she's also decorated it with glitter. That's quite unusual. In my experience, you'll either find kitties that are furry or kitties decorated with glitter. Finding both together is rare, though I've heard it was a bit more popular back in the 70s. Even so, I understand this kitty is quite well used, so apparently it does have some appeal.
Sure,
this
yeah.
last kitty belongs to my ex-girlfriend, and unlike the first 2, this one is perfectly smooth on the outside. I understand that's becoming more popular these days. Also, unlike the first 2, this one is not pink on the outside. However, if we look carefully into these folds, we can clearly see it's pink on the inside.
It's a nice healthy color.
That pink coloration on the inside is fairly universal. If we look into my wife's kitty, we can certainly see some pink in there. And moving over to my neighbor's kitty, well, that one's more of a purple color. I've never seen that, but I've heard that can happen with excessive use. Now,
well, not even necessarily excessive use. It's just a matter of some kitties being different from other kitties. There really isn't such a thing as excessive use. It's best not to make claims like that. Everyone knows that kitties are self-cleaning. They're very good at what they do.
Only a few people will ever get inside of any particular woman's kitty, and that's because they're kept closed unless you first get into their hearts. Now, I of course have the key to my wife's heart, so getting into her kitty is fairly routine. I do it often, and it usually doesn't take more than a few seconds, though my wife does seem to prefer when I take my time. That said, when I first met my wife, I did not have a key and found getting in quite difficult. I had to figure out exactly where to touch and how to manipulate to get in. If I recall correctly, I spent a fair bit of time with my tool in this hole. Strangely, it did nothing at all, but when I squeezed my tool into this tiny little crevice, it seemed to pop right open. So that's what I've been doing ever since. Similarly, my ex-girlfriend's kitty is also kept tightly shut unless you first find your way into her heart. I'm not sure if I remember exactly how to do it, but let's give it a try. I put my tool into this tight little hole in the bottom. And there we go. It took a little bit more time than it used to, but I suspect with some practice, I could be getting into this kitty fairly regularly.
I'd say, yeah, he's got a pretty good set of hands.
Moving on to the kitty decorated.
He seems to be in tune with what the hearts need. I don't see anything wrong with that.
With glitter. You'll notice that this one is not guarded by the owner's heart. When I first encountered a glittered kitty, I have to admit I tried every technique I could think of to get in, and nothing seemed to work. However, I noticed something strange that might help you if you ever run into a glittered kitty. When I put away my normal tool and took out a little bit of gold, it opened up surprisingly fast. I still haven't figured out why that is, but let's give it a shot. Okay, as you can see, We got into that very quickly using some gold. One additional note, you'll notice that when I get into a kitty covered in glitter, always make sure that your tool is covered in rubber.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
Having shown you a few kitties belonging to women, the question arises, do men have something similar? Well, in fact, they do, but they don't quite fit in on this channel because unlike women's kitties, the male equivalent is extraordinarily easy to access. I actually borrowed a few from friends of mine to show you. You'll notice there's nothing stopping you from accessing any of them. I'm not sure why they're so different. One curious observation I had, though, is they're all about the same size, roughly 6 inches. I find that strange.
I'd say that's a little more than average. This might be confirmation bias. That's a little more than average. So I'd consider this anecdotal.
Because comparing it to mine's about 8 inches. I always thought that was normal. I guess not. In any case, that's all I have for you today. If you do have any questions or comments about this, please put them below. If you like this video and would like to see more like it, please subscribe and have a great April 1st.
I would say the best trick for getting into the man's version is just, I mean, like, look at that one on the left. That one's really cool. I think really all you gotta do is just show a little bit of interest and you'll get what you want out of it. All right, so we learned a lot this video. If there's something else you'd like to see me react to, if there's some other problem that you're having in regards to the utilization of the correct tools, please leave a comment about it, tell me on Twitch, or come tell me on Discord. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Remember, it's never goodbye. It is always good later. Until next time, Space Cowboys. Happy April 1st! You want to watch my 36-inch King Rex locks from the Lockpicking Lawyer? Did you say 36? Yeah, I'd say that's like pretty average. I don't know why you're getting all up in a tizzy over 36 inches. It's not that many inches.